I've been geeking out about this since I saw the footage back in May. Yeah. The sequence when you are lifted up above that taxi cab and you're like hanging in midair. Yeah. How did you shoot that? Like, when you did that sequence, what did that look like for you?
So I have a bit of help with the wire.
Right.
But what happens is they put the camera on a track that's sort of, so the car's like that, they put the camera on a track here, and they shoot the camera forward really quickly while they're filming at the same time that I jump. and a guy sort of 40 feet away pulls on a wire and gives me a bit of extra lift. And then they slow the footage down so it wraps around me just as I'm in midair, and you kind of see me go.
Is that the hypercam?
And then, I don't know what that is. It's one of those crazy gadget things. And then I turn around and look towards the camera just as I land. It's very technical.
How many times did you do it?
I did it about 5 times. I did it crap. I did it really badly most of the time. And then there was one where everyone went, whoa! And that's the one that's in the movie.
Dude.
I don't think I could do it again.
That shot's amazing. And then there's another really cool scene, this is in the trailer as well, where like you're fighting in like a slow motion, you flip on a guy, then flip around him.
Yeah.
That was sick too.
That's insane.
Is that wire work too?
There's wire work that happens with these things because they kind of defy gravity a little bit. But yeah, you get a lot of help from wires and an incredible stunt team, and there was a great guy called Luke Scott who helped me out a lot with that bit. There's some great guys who work with us.
Now, I was reading that Matthew Vaughn actually compares your character's arc to kind of what Luke Skywalker was going through in the series of Star Wars. Can you explain that? Like, I think it's interesting, like what Luke went through versus what Eggsy's going through. Like, do you see a comparison?
Well, I like that because that suggests that I've got somewhere further to go with the badassery. Do you know what I mean? That in the 3rd installment, I really become the guy.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. I know Matthew's spoken a lot about comparing, this trilogy to Star Wars. He's humble, Matthew Vaughn. There is, I think there is that kind of trajectory of the green, wet behind the ears novice who becomes the real deal, the guy that Harry Hart saw in Eggsy hopefully will manifest towards the end of the 3rd film, I hope.
And I'm always curious about this when they make films and they do a rain sequence. So you're in this one shot.
Man, it's so freaking cool.
What is that like? I mean, are you just rain machines? Like you're sitting there holding that
and
thing
also
up?
there's far more water than there is when it actually rains, unless you're in a rainforest, because it doesn't register on camera in the same way. So that was the first night, that thing where me and Merlin are over the decimated Kingsman remains, and it's pouring with rain. Man, I was so cold. We had to go inside and like stand by little heaters, and I couldn't feel my fingers. And it Crimea River. Talk about first world problems in a bloody movie. It's fine, but it's cold at 3 in the morning.
That's really cool. Now, one thing I love about the film, obviously, the style is incredible. I want that orange tux.
Yeah.
Did you keep it? Do you keep any of the clothes?
No.
What?
There's something quite cathartic about thinking you're never going to have to see them again after 6 months, because you sort of, I spent 6 months in that very starched, stiff suit.
The orange one? That was a cool suit, the orange tux you wear.
Dude, you can buy them online, you know. They're
like $5,000 or something like that? What do they cost?
I think they might be something silly, yeah. Yeah, I guess there's little things I keep, but the suits, I don't know where I'd keep them. I have to say, I took my hood from Robin Hood this year, but that's the first time I've ever taken a piece of costume.
Really? Why that one?
Because it's cool. It's really cool. It's leather.
Where do you keep it?
I gave it to my trainer to look after, and he's had it framed in his gym.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
is your name
cool
on it? Like, does it say like Robin Hood?
No, bloody hell, no. He came with me for that whole shoot. Anyway, we were promoting the wrong bloody movie.
It's okay. But it's cool.
He's a great guy, great friend. I care about him a great deal, and I thought it would be a nice thank you to him.
That's awesome.
So he looks after it. If the movie's a hit one day, I'll auction it, but for charity or something. But yeah.
Awesome talking to you, man.
Thanks, brother.
Dude, that car shot is... a big fan of the first Kingsman. I spoke to you about that movie there. The church scene's one of the greatest scenes of all time. It's such a great scene. I'm curious, when you shot your quote-unquote death scene, which was you were shot from a distance, we couldn't really see you die. We just assumed you would die because of the headshot. What were you told then? Did Vaughn tell you that you were going to be coming back in this one?
Dead.
You thought you were officially dead?
Yes, but I suppose I clung to the idea that, I had nothing more to go on than an audience member. But I did cling to the idea that there must be some wiggle room, given that you didn't really see a close-up, you didn't see details of a wound, you didn't see an autopsy, there was no funeral, there's no follow-up at all. I just disappear out of the world of the film. I thought maybe that gives us some room to maneuver. But I don't think that Matthew had a secret plan to bring me back.
And when you heard about what your plan would be to come back, did you have any input in that? Or was that something that was just written in the script?
I had input. I don't know if any of it was actually listened to, but I was definitely indulged in the conversation. Constant conversations. I mean, Matthew and I spoke very regularly about, what is it a prequel? Should it be this? Should it be that? In the end, I think, he listens, but then goes his own way.
Now, Mr. Bridges, I know you get asked about Big Lebowski all the time, but I genuinely want to know what the dude would do if he was a statesman. Like, I want to see him as a statesman. Like, what do you think he could handle it?
He would have to be a sort of an undercover guy, It'd be an interesting character to bring him in. Yeah, he would be his drink. He would be a White Russian,
Yeah.
That would be his.
He kind of just.
His code name's White Russian.
Yeah,
That's
of course.
brilliant.
There you go. He sort of just everything slides off him somehow. And he gets into some stressful situations. Yeah. But somehow you'd think, everyone would trip over themselves and the dude would still be there, reclining somewhere.
The church scene, as I mentioned, is one of the most iconic scenes. The way he did that and the way you did that with the continuous cuts, it looked like it was all one shot during those scenes. But that scene was done in such a way where it didn't feel as brutal as it really was because of the music that was playing, the Leonard Skinner song. Can you talk about finding that tone and what your thoughts were on that scene? 'Cause I know that it was banned in certain places, and can you talk about just what your thoughts were on that scene and that violence?
Well, I almost forgot that it was violent. You're learning a dance move all the time, and obviously you're aware of the aggression that's required. And part of it is purely choreographic. These are the moves. These are the physical moves. These are the mechanics. So you have to get in sufficient shape that you can do it. And, over the age of 50, that's more of a challenge than if you're 18. So there was just getting in shape. But the actual psychology of the fight was new to me. Unfortunately, this wonderful team. And Brad Allen, who was the choreographer, was also a great instructor about that. Because I got to the point where I knew the moves and could do the moves mechanically. But then there was this whole other thing of saying, now we need to see the story. That it's just 1, 2, 3, 4 isn't getting across anything. There's no energy, there's no menace. The rhythm of this is to do with what you're thinking. That's scary. That's making you angry. You need to protect that person you saw at the last minute. You've already clocked that person. So that changes the tempo of things. And you start to build those things in, and you can feel then that it's alive and there's a story being told. And then you watch the movie and they add the blood. And they add the wounds and the CG, and you think, God, I was doing brutal things here.
Pull a knife from someone's head.
Yeah, this was just an arm going in the direction of my friend Tom over there. I didn't think I was disemboweling somebody in that moment.
They're wrapping up. But last question, just one word answer. Your favorite Colin Firth film and your favorite Jeff Bridges movie?
I was so knocked out by Kingsman, but Single Man King's speech, but you, like you said, you nailed it, man. With that fight scene, when I saw that, I was so damn impressed. I mean, I'm in the biz. I know what that stuff takes. Beautifully executed,
Favorite Bridges movie?
I think it's The Fisher King has the edge for me.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice one.
It's a good one.
I mean, we can all say Big
Gary,
Lebowski. No, it's Fisher King.
Gilliam, yeah.
Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for joking around with me. It was
Thank
fun.
you.
That church scene is so incredible. Well, first of all, I think you handle violence very interestingly in your films. I think you strike these amazing tones where it can be absurd. You have like a gummy bear shooting up in the air in this movie at one point, and then you can look at the emotional violence you do in your films. Like you go back to Kick-Ass when she's going through in the POV, you have that John Murphy score playing there. Yeah. And I'm just curious about it as a director of striking different tones and violence. I mean, even the church scene can come across as like goofy or absurd and over the top, even though it could be violence in another way.
Yeah. Well, my main inspiration for violence is Tom and Jerry. I genuinely don't like violent movies, and I wince when things are really like there's loads of blood and stuff. I'm like, oh, I can't watch this. So I do, So if you look at my movies, it's very little blood, and it's fun. It's cartoon. It's. We live in a violent world, so you don't need to see more horrible violence. It's just a punctuation and a style to make you laugh. And the church sequence, people are genuinely were like
Yeah.
sort of laughing while the chaos was going on. And you know, in this film, there's a hamburger scene which you see people there giggling as well as going, "Oh Christ, what are we laughing at right now?" So that I can't help. That's what I like to do with violence. I don't want it to be gratuitous or make you feel sick, because that's not my style.
And music's such a big key factor to it too, obviously. Just
Key factor to everything.
Everything.
You know,
yeah.
music is it's what takes it off the screen. I mean, I've been researching music recently, and I found out there's a hormone which is nicknamed the cuddle hormone, and it makes you feel just like it's not like dopamine. It's called octo something, and you first get it released in your system when your mother or somebody sings a lullaby to you as a baby. And that's why for me, explains why music's so powerful in movies. It just makes you feel it.
It's really cool. Now, obviously,
It's a powerful job.
yeah, and you've been working with Matthew since Stardust, which is a brilliant film. I love Stardust, and I always love seeing these actor and director pairings, because a lot of filmmakers will continue working with the same actor for a long time if they have a good experience. Can you talk about like what that's like in regards to how Matthew was with you on set of Stardust to now, and like how you've seen him grown as a filmmaker? But I just think he's been great throughout consistently. But as an actor, how has your rapport changed?
I've said it before, but the best way you can describe it is it's like a dance. You know, when you learn a dance routine with somebody, you have to learn the steps. And when you've worked with somebody a number of times, you know the steps. You know how each other moves, and you understand. So you get that out of the way straight away. But what's been fascinating working with Matthew is the variety. You know, Stardust is an incredible fantasy movie. It's one of my favourite movies, I have to say. And then I always remember that day we were around at someone's house, I can't remember, and you came in with the opening scene of Kick-Ass, where the guy dives off the roof. I think we were around at Dexter's or something like that, and you came in and you went, "Have a look at this."
Poker that night. Yeah.
Yeah, do you remember?
Yeah.
And you showed, and I remember just my brain just flipped, because I'd been in this fantasy world with Matthew doing that kind of a movie, wondering what his next movie would be, and it was just, I mean, now it seems, perhaps not so amazing, but then it was just totally other. I thought he'd gone mad. I was like, hang on, what's this? Yeah. But the rest is history.
Obviously, I've been watching your films for a while, and you've shot films on 35, you've shot films digitally, and I've been watching, like, I believe Kick-Ass, Stardust, Layer Cake were all shot film, and then...
And First Class was film.
And First Class. Can you talk about what you see in digital, what you like in digital, and do you prefer, like what do you think digital gives to this film that film wouldn't, or how do you feel about one or the other?
Film is magical, and if I could shoot on film, I really would, and I get why Nolan and Tarantino, they insist on it, but it's not as practical as digital. So the stuff that we do, it's and the way we're using the lenses now and everything, even when you do you shoot and film, 90% of the people, it's in that films and put into the digital domain and then converted and it's digital projection. So that's why I gave up on film, because I just thought there's not enough people who will actually get to see it on film. However, there are moments where film cameras are better than digital cameras. They don't go wrong. If they do go wrong, you get your screwdriver out and you fix it. And there's been 2 times the digital stuff was going, none of us knew how to fix it. You need all these computer guys coming in and blah, 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 where before you just go, you just pick it up, or you get another body and off. So I do miss film. I love film. And ironically, all we do is try and make digital look like film. But film still wins.
All right, so I think you strike this incredible balance in this film of like being this funny sociopath.
Right.
But like,
if there is such a thing, right?
Every line you say, it's like it almost comes across as sweet,
right.
And then there's like this evil lurking below every line. Can you talk about finding that balance? It's really kind of cool how you did that.
Well, Matthew Vaughn believes that every villain should have a reason for being. You need to know that their intention seems, maybe reasonable at first. And so she's someone who feels that she's running this big business, and it's time, and that she's been successful, and it's time for her to kind of join the pantheon of great business leaders, So what she's done, but of course she's a drug lord, so she's not acknowledging the human cost. So it's that idea of playing with somebody who seems like she's reasonable, but then you realize that she's probably out of her mind.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting to me because all the filmmakers you've worked with in your career, it blows my mind. Alfonso Cuarón, the Coen brothers. Are there films you look back on that are there certain ones of yours that you just love? I'm sure you love a lot of movies, but like, are there ones that like you're really, really proud of, specifically proud of?
There's probably several actually. I've been really, really fortunate, and I've had this kind of wonderful opportunities. So I don't know that and then sometimes I forget that I'll be like, oh, that one.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that you do tend to kind of look forward in I think in any career rather than backwards. So you sort of forget what you've done.
Yeah. This is a weird question. I'm curious about the hamburger meat. Like that scene was so gross.
Yeah.
But I'm curious on set what they actually used to make it look the way it did. Was it just like what was that?
It was plastic.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, it was some plastic thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but it was gross.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
Now your character is in this incredible land, and they actually built a lot of this for you. And talk about as an actor having that realism there with you, because today there's so much green screen special effects. You talk about actually having practical things in front of you to act.
They did a beautiful job with the set. I would have preferred that it be inside. That was the thing. I was like, oh, awesome. This is going to be this great, big, beautiful set, and we're we're in a soundstage somewhere, and they're like, oh no, we built it on the back lot. And I'm like, what? Because it's London, so that means it's cold and it's rainy, and there's some days where we have to walk through all this kind of mud, and we were always sweeping things up, and I was like, okay. That being said, it was really great to be in that extraordinary environment.
Now, I was just talking to Taron, and like there's in the church scene in the first one, and then the Pedro sequence in this film, where there's all like this one continuous take, and it reminded me of Children of Men, only because that scene blew my mind. I know it's a different film, but that shot of you in the car, I know it would take forever to explain, but like, what did that look like for you? Were you really ducking out of the way?
It was a rig on this car. It was a Fiat, I think, and we sat 3 across, the front and the back, and there was a frame in the car, and the camera hung on the frame, and so as we started, the camera just moved like this, and so it would come near you, you'd be in profile, and then to continue, you'd duck like this.
And you break character, kind of, right? Do you have to?
Well, it's like the thing about technical stuff is that you have like a third eye, so you have to stay, and everyone's like that. You have to be in and out, and you have to know. It's like when you work with a Steadicam too. Like they might come past you, and I think what's kind of cool about movie making is that it is a team. You're seeing stuff like this, the audience is seeing stuff on the screen, but we're working with our colleagues are a bunch of people that are all around us all the time. We're used to it. It's that collectiveness that's the best part about filmmaking.
Yeah, that scene blew my mind. It's one of the greatest scenes of all time. So thank you, Julianne. It's
nice
a pleasure
to talk
see you, by the way.
Thanks a lot.
Is the ping pong ball real?
No.
Wow.
No.
That looks
so we're physically making those actions, but then they CGI the ping pong ball.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so Clive and I were like this. Yeah, that's it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
By the way, I really enjoyed Kidnap, by the way.
Oh,
My wife and I.
thank you. Thanks for saying
My
that.
wife and I went and saw it, and like I didn't really know what to expect because I hadn't seen many trailers for it yet. And then I sat down, we were like just blown away. I mean, like that was a brutal. You were awesome in that movie.
Thank
I'm
you
actually
very
happy
much.
that I'm going to have
Thank
my
you.
plane movie.
Have you not seen Kidnap?
You're gonna watch me on a plane?
I mean, what do you want?
Not on the tiny screen.
That's
you
not
gotta,
a
you gotta see it on the
friend.
big screen.
No, I got my.
It's not a
I
friend.
got
Pay my
my. I
hard-earned
got my
money to watch that
sound.
movie.
I
Thank
got
you
my
very
sound.
much.
Oh, I'm gonna be. I'm not. It's not gonna be a. It's gonna be on my tricked out big ass iPad, purchased on iTunes, more than a movie ticket, and with sound cancellation headphones.
All right.
It's my travel. It's actually more special.
All right, well, nice to meet you guys, by the way. Thank you so much for the interview. There's a moment in the film where you talk about how your character, Ginger Ale, actually wants to go out in the field and do some action. And you say that you've been denied, you haven't been able to do that yet. And I'm curious, as actors, I mean, I feel like it's interesting to look at the business. Are there roles that you wanted to play at an earlier stage in your career that you were like told you can't do that, and then eventually it happened for you?
I was told I couldn't do everything.
Yeah, me
Being a
too.
woman of color, it was just a bunch of nope, not you, nope.
Yeah, same
Yeah.
thing.
Does that get
I was about to
tiring, though, to
say.
hear that no all the time? Does that, like, what does that do to you? Like, I feel like, because actors get no all the time.
It gets you an Oscar.
Yeah, but it's part of, to be to be an actor, that's part of it. That thick skin and that tenacity and that desire to win and to, not take no for an answer. I think that's all part of it. I don't know any actors that haven't experienced that.
Yeah, I think I see it as in a way, because everyone asks us, how do you deal with all that rejection? And I think that there isn't any actual rejection in what we do. It's either yours or it isn't. I cannot speak for the experience of being a woman of color and all of the obstacles in this industry and in life that are handed to you. I think we have it a lot easier, and it was just very confusing for casting directors that my first name was Pedro, and I think that for years that kept parts either like I wasn't Latino enough, or I wasn't white enough. You know what I mean? And I was in that limbo for years and years and years and years and years, and that. So I would say there were so many parts that I wanted so badly that I didn't even have a chance at, just because what my first name was.
Do you think if you were Peter Pascal, it would have been easier?
I tried Peter.
You did?
I tried Peter.
Did you really? Peter? That's interesting.
Well, I never tried Peter Pascal. Move on. I'll tell you about it when this is over.
Kind of just switching gears. Considering you have a lasso, I just can't help but think you and Wonder Woman fighting. How cool that would be. Any idea how that would go down? Like just knowing Wonder Woman and obviously playing the character you've played, how would that fight scene go down?
I feel like Wonder Woman would play with Agent Whiskey like a cat does with like the corpse of a mouse. I feel like that's how that would go down. I think Wonder Woman would kick my ass.
That would be amazing to watch that.
Yeah.
I really want to see that. Now,
I think I would just literally just put myself in a fetal position and then just let her kind of like pat me around.
I am curious if you could see the Statesman dropped into an episode of Game of Thrones. How would that pan out?
God, that would be awkward, wouldn't it? I think that would be super awkward. It would really be a mess.
Are you a Game of Thrones fan?
I'm more of a Narcos fan.
Oh.
I just gotta tell you the truth. Gotta shoot you straight.
Uh-oh. And you haven't seen Kidnapped, so you need to see Kidnapped, and you need to watch Game of Thrones.
I need to watch Game of Thrones.
You don't
But
even
Game of Thrones
know.
has gone so far. I'd have to like go back too far. Like
Yeah.
what is it? 8 seasons.
You get to binge it. You're lucky. You'll start when you're ready.
Where do you come in? That's where I want to start.
Season 4.
Okay, well I'm gonna start.
But I
with
think
4.
you should start at season 1.
I can't.
You have to.
I can't.
But you have
I'm
to.
gonna start at 4.
No, you
Yes,
can't.
I am. You're gonna tell me everything from 1 to 4, and then I'm gonna start from 4 on.
Okay.
Cool. Well, enjoy it. Have fun with Game of Thrones. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice
Thank you
to
so
meet
much
you
for the interview. Nice to meet you, Halle.
Thank you. You
Hey,
too.
y'all have a good day, okay?